We got several text messages from families yesterday having read the news report that there was measles detected in the wastewater in Lincoln. And so I just wanted to talk through that. First and foremost, don't panic. Let's talk through what that means, why we're doing that, and what parents should do. Now, first and foremost, there were a lot of good comments on some of the stories. I don't spend a lot of time on social media because it doesn't make me a better person, but there were some really good comments. The best one was like, don't swim in the wastewater. Noted. And first and foremost, the reason that we look for measles in the wastewater is not out of fear that people will be swimming in the wastewater or accessing the wastewater. It's because it gives us a heads up as to what's going on in the community. We don't always have to wait until they show up in the ER or the clinic. You run the lab, it takes a few days to come back, and you're like, oh crap, this kid has measles. When we can look in the wastewater and we can say, oh, measles shows up in the poop of people with measles, and poop shows up most of the time in the wastewater. And so if we're finding it in the wastewater, that means there's people in the community that have measles that are pooping measles into the wastewater. You're not going to access the wastewater, hopefully, but it gives us a heads up, and that's the purpose of doing that. Now, what does that mean? It means that there's measles circulating in the community to some extent. Now, we don't know what that extent is just yet, but we probably will within the next week or two. There were a couple of cases of measles in a nearby community around Christmas, and then we didn't really hear anything from that. So it didn't bloom into a bigger spread yet. But this could be that because it can take up to 21 days for measles to present. Like you get exposed, and then it can take up to 21 days for you actually to show symptoms. So that's still within that window, and it could be circulating and people just didn't bring it to attention that tipped everyone off that this is measles. Other comments were like, everybody got measles back in the day. We had measles parties. Okay, I think a lot of people confuse measles and chickenpox. People did have the pox parties. Measles was actually a lot more serious and remains a lot more serious because of the complications from measles. Yes, you get the virus. Yes, you get the fever. Yes, you get the rash, those sorts of things. But you are at risk for a couple of other bigger things when it comes to measles that we absolutely want to avoid. You can be at risk for pneumonia or bloodstream infections or dehydration in the acute. You can also have what is called immune amnesia, where basically measles attacks your immune cells and deletes all of the immunity that you've built up over the years from all of those colds, from immunizations, all those sorts of things get deleted. So you get like a fresh immune system, which most people don't want because you worked really hard to gain all those different immune cells and antibodies that fight infection. The really rare but serious consequence of measles that doesn't happen for 5 to 10 years down the road is called subacute sclerosing panencephalitis, where basically the measles virus lies dormant and then your immune system reacts and your brain essentially starts to get inflamed and shut down. And it's super scary. It's not treatable. And so those are the big things that differentiate measles from chickenpox, which yes, people had pox parties. Yes, chickenpox was rampant at one point. Measles is different. And if we look at measles, one of the things I hear sometimes is only 500 kids died per year from measles, which is just horrendous that people would say that only 500 kids, what's the big deal? There's like millions of kids. But if we think about that, we should think too, well, between 2015 and 2025, just in the past 10 years, there were 0 deaths in the United States from measles, which means if we had just 500 kids die per year, that would be 5,000 children that were lost from a vaccine preventable illness and 5,000 families affected. And if we're thinking about what we can do to promote life, it would be to not get measles and not have 500 children per year dying from measles. Now, we won't get back to those levels because measles vaccine works really well and a lot of the community is protected from measles. So when we talk about what should we do about this news report, if you've gotten your measles vaccines, keep calm, carry on. The measles vaccine is super effective at preventing measles. If you have been vaccinated for measles, the likelihood that you're going to get measles is so stinking low that you don't even have to quarantine or anything along those lines. Now, if you are unvaccinated and exposed to somebody with measles, the schools say and require that you're out of school for 21 days. So even if your child doesn't get it, if they're unvaccinated and in school with somebody that has measles, they're out for 21 days. So if you're vaccinated, keep calm, carry on. Now, if your child is 12 months and up, they are eligible to get the measles vaccine. And so I think it's worth talking with somebody about the risks and benefits of choosing, okay, we weren't vaccinating, but now that measles could be popping up in the community, what should we do? That should be a question and a discussion that you should have where you're not feeling coerced, you're not feeling pressured, but you're getting good information so that you can make an educated and empowered decision. If your child is between 6 months and 12 months of age, another discussion for your doctor of, hey, should we get the measles vaccine on the early side because of the potential for community spread? When parents were texting in yesterday, I was saying, let's keep an eye on things in the coming week or two. And if cases start to pop up, then we'll have that discussion and we'll decide what to do with those 6 to 12 months of age. Now, under 6 months of age, there isn't any vaccine available. And so we really rely on everyone in the community to avoid spreading measles, which is why, especially in those young groups, that they rely on others. And we're not just alone in this. And the choices that I make can affect others because there are people that aren't able to get the measles vaccine, whether they're under 6 months of age, whether they're between 6 and 12 months of age. Those are the ones that are the highest risk for hospitalization for measles, and they're also the ones that are most susceptible to it because they haven't had access yet to being able to be vaccinated and protected from it. Or children that are on immunosuppressants or chemo or all those other things that make you more susceptible to those illnesses. So the choices that I make and then go to Target or Walmart or church or wherever can affect others whether or not they want to be affected by that or whether they've made that choice or not. And if you're unsure, if you're confused, talk with your pediatrician. Hopefully you can have an honest conversation where you are able to share, hey, here's what I'm concerned about. Whether it's getting measles and, okay, you've done everything you need to, or whether it's I'm on the fence about whether we should get the measles vaccine. You should be able to have that conversation and discuss it without feeling pressured, coerced, judged, guilted. What we know in our practice, and we don't pressure you, coerce you, threaten you if you don't, or judge you or shame you or anything like that. But we know, because we see it every week when we get to talk with these families, is if you feel safe, if you feel like you can share your concerns, if you can walk through your concerns, then you're much more likely to feel educated and empowered to make the decision that's right for you, for your family, and for the community. So hopefully that's helpful. Drop a comment below if you have other questions, and keep calm and carry on.